know it.
With a tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
What's up, everybody? Episode 367 of Top Rope Nation, here to talk about the return of Saturday night's main event on NBC and Peacock tonight. We haven't done a post show like this in quite some time. I can't even remember the last time it was, but I thought that this would be an easy one to kind of recap and talk about in the immediate aftermath of it, and also because my Sunday is going to be a little hectic tomorrow, and we wanted to get this content out for you. So I just got off doing the Bleacher Report stream this morning. Justin and I recorded the latest Top Rope Nation classics on Survivor Series 92 with Kyle Ross, who returned to the program for that. So you're going to want to be a patron to hear that. We went 2 hours. So, boys, this is my third podcast today. I'm getting a little winded, but I might need you guys to carry me like I'm Davey Boy at Wembley. We'll see how it goes. But I got Jesse Velasquez, and then making his debut on the flagship. He's been on a Patreon bonus show before when we talked about WrestleMania 18. The one, the only, Jay Schmitz. Jay, how you doing tonight?
I am fantastic. Even though you forced me to watch a WWE show, I am doing all right.
See, Justin couldn't do the show tonight, and Jay and Justin are very similar with their wrestling tastes, and I felt like if Justin couldn't do it, I could get Jay to sub for him, and he could be the WWE hater on this podcast. So we'll see. Maybe he liked the show a lot. We'll find out as we go tonight. Jay, I'll ask you for your grade here in just a minute. I'll let you think on that. Jesse Velasquez made it tonight. His night was pretty hectic too, so I'm glad that Jesse could pull through for us and join us. Jesse, how you doing?
Doing well. It's good to see that my son's been asleep for a little over 2 hours now. That's incredible. It's the first time, I think, since June. So
wow.
We're learning on the fly how to get things started a little bit earlier. I think that's been the key. And Jay, did you have 2 screens up tonight watching wrestling?
No, because I stream Collision on Triller, so I don't have the picture-in-picture breaks with an international feed, and for some reason they weren't starting till 9 p.m. tonight. So I debated having it up, but then I realized Beast Mortos would distract me and I'd ignore you fine fellows. So I will watch it tomorrow morning.
See the Beef Mortos love? It's just like Justin's here.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you guys are joining us in the chat right now, I'm expecting a lively bunch. It's Saturday night. Maybe people got a few drinks in after watching Saturday night's main event. Let us know in the chat what you would grade the show, A through F. We'll get our personal grades in here. I don't know if you guys have anything in the glass. I got something pretty boring right now. I was drinking something a little better earlier, but I went downhill just to the Miller Lite right now. So I've got a Miller Lite. Jay, you have anything in the glass tonight? I'm
drinking water, but I'm drinking it from this fine Top Rope Nation podcast giant coffee cup that I highly recommend everyone purchase.
Well, look at that product placement. I didn't even ask him to do that, which speaking of that, since you mentioned it, I got a 15% off flash sale going right now on the Top Rope Nation store just for the return to Saturday night's main event, you guys. TopRopeNation.com will get you to our merch store. Tons of good stuff. Jay highly recommends that mug. I do.
Also, the hoodies are very comfortable. I'm not wearing one right now, but highly recommend those too.
I saw you wearing one the other night, the red one. Yeah. Jesse, anything in the glass?
No, I don't, but I should have grabbed my Top Rope Nation unplugged coffee mug and threw some water in there as well. Dang it, Jay.
You can also get your Top Rope Nation Unplugged merch on our store. We got the shirts, we got the mugs there as well. Jesse's Patreon bonus show. Check it out. TopRopeNation.com. I'll leave that sale up through the rest of the night. It's our new merch store, you guys. If you haven't checked it out lately, a lot of new designs, new kinds of merchandise. We got hats, snapbacks with Stitch logos on them now. Really high quality stuff that you can order right from the site for a pretty affordable price. I think with that 15% off, it's like low 20s for a Stitch snapback. That's pretty good. So you can check that out. And also, you guys, you're seeing the names of our wonderful patrons going across the bottom of the screen, of which Jay is a fine patron of the show. There's his name right there. I mentioned it. Kyle Ross returned. TRN Classics. You're going to want to check it out this morning. 2 hours with Justin and I on Survivor Series 92, a show that Kyle attended when he was 12 years old. So it was a fun time. I think you all, especially longtime listeners of this podcast, will enjoy it. All right. Link is in the broadcast description for that. Jay, give me your grade. A through F. What do you got?
I'd say on a WWE scale, I'd C plus B minus. I thought it was fun. Honestly, we'll get into the details, but the lack of actual wrestling was very jarring to me. So just to put in perspective to listeners, I primarily watch Dynamite and Collision. I appreciate WWE for what it is. So not necessarily a hater of it. It's just kind of passed me by. But I was shocked. I took the times down of the wrestling and there just isn't a lot of it. And so on that, my personal fandom, I'll do B minus C plus.
Okay. It's pretty fair, I think. Jesse, where are you at?
B minus. I was highly entertained by the 80s retro feel, from the logo to the aisleway, even the turnbuckles. There was just so many things that brought me back to yesteryear, with the first and the second opening themes as well. Saturday night's main event. I mean, that hit me right in the heartstrings. So I was highly entertained the entire time. It flew by. But unfortunately, like Jay said, in terms from a wrestling perspective, there wasn't anything horrible, but there wasn't anything spectacular. So that's where I'm gonna land here is a B minus.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I always say the same thing on the pod, but if you're new, I always say A show needs a match of the year contender for me. B show, something I would rewatch. C is average. Anything below C is a below average show. I think from a match quality perspective, this would be C or maybe a little lower, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit. There's nothing that I would certainly probably rewatch on the show match wise, but there's maybe like some segments I would rewatch, or I'd like rewatch the intro again because it was a cool throwback with the 80s graphics and everything. And yeah, I just the original theme with Obsession, and then the other original theme that they had play at the beginning too, in the countdown. I think I got to bump it up to like a B minus, just for the nostalgia that this show had going for it. I think it was a fun watch. It was an easy watch. 2 hours flew by. It's kind of surprising that they had 2 hours and none of the matches got much time, which I'm sure we'll talk about as we go here. Chat room is checking in, by the way. Shane tuning in here is giving the show a B. We've got Ryan Huffman, patron of the show here. Ryan says, thought it was a good show. I'd give it a B. Nothing I would rewatch. WWE needs to go ahead and just bring back the Winged Eagle permanently. Looked great. We'll get into that. Jesse had a comment on our Facebook group that I want to screenshot, put on the air when we get to the Cody match. It was pretty funny about the Winged Eagle, and well played. I'll just say that. I'll tease that. I'll get to that here in a little bit. But no, I think those grades are fair. I think I put the poll up on Twitter, and I'm looking at it right now. 48% have it at a B, 16% are at a C, 32% at an A. I can't go that high. They're feeling real nostalgic, I guess. 4% D or F.
People are so easily entertained by World Wrestling Entertainment, and they're, oh my heavens, what is an A show to you? Is everything an A show?
Seriously,
I can't relate. Just mentally, like it flies by. It's entertaining. I get getting lost in it, but like an A show, to your point, there has to be something that will resonate forever that you would go back to, and there's nothing on this show that, aside from the nostalgia, which I'm glad they did. That was a lot of fun, but yeesh. Okay.
Yeah. Those are probably the same people that are spamming our polls with Fs for a show like AEW All Out that was just like insanely good.
Yeah.
So tribalism. I do have some good news for you guys, because I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get this guy on the show or not, but good friend of the pod from the Pro Wrestling Torch, our Maverick, the pilot himself, Frank Pettiani, he attended the show. He's a New Yorker, and he was there tonight at the Nassau Coliseum. And I sent him a message and I said, depending on how long it takes you to get out of there, if you can get home in time, you should join us tonight. Give us the live perspective. He is home. He is home from the Nassau Coliseum. Just sent me a text, and he said there was a major angle after it went off the air tonight. I haven't read any spoilers, so I have no idea what that was.
I know what it was.
You know what it was. So
Yeah.
we'll get Frank's eyewitness account of that here momentarily. He said, just give me a couple minutes and he'll be joining us. So yeah.
For the record, it would have
come.
bumped my grade up
Oh, really?
easily.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've been running around with my head cut off and I haven't even had a chance to see what happened. But hey, let's start at the beginning. All right. The intro was awesome. I mean, we knew they were going to use Obsession. They've played it on all of the pretty much all the commercials ever since they announced that this was coming back. I thought it was really cool how they showed the old clips from the 80s and the early 90s, and then they did like the rewind thing, and then they kind of recreated the intros a little different than the original, but it kind of had like 80s graphics on it, and that went into the opening. That was sweet. I liked how the arena was dressed up too with the red, white, and blue ropes and the way the entranceway looked and everything. Jay, I mean, you're a big 80s nostalgia WWF guy. What'd you think of the look of the show?
Yeah, I thought that was great. And I've been watching a lot of that early 80s kind of era lately. So hearing Jesse Ventura, obviously not at the top of his game, but I had a lot of fun listening to that because I think earlier this week I watched WrestleMania 2, which he's just like peak Jesse Ventura at that point. So that was fun. This is a minor nitpick. And again, if you watch the show, most people probably already knew this, but I was disappointed, even though I don't love the block WWE logo when they chop off the F. I would have liked to have seen that on everything, but you can't win them all. I thought they did a very nice job playing up the nostalgia.
Yeah. Jesse?
You got to wonder who has lost a little more marbles, especially with their ages. If it's Jesse Ventura or Jim Ross at this point.
Yeah, that's
Jesse actually sounded better than he did with Bill Simmons, so I'll at least give him that. But outside of that, everything from a feels perspective was phenomenal. Although I will say this though about Jesse Ventura and WWE revisionist history, saying that it has been 40 years since you've seen me. I saw you at the Target Center in August of 1999 for SummerSlam as
Were
a
you
referee.
at that show? I was at that show. I saw him there too.
Yes, I mean it's like 10 minutes from my neighborhood, so I had to show up for that one. And someone had told me that he was a guest host for Raw in 2009 also.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Whoops.
I mean, he was around in the WWF until like, what was it? Around 90, 89, 90? I'm trying to remember when he left. I mean, it hasn't been 40 years since then, but he, I will say when they went to him at the start with Testator, he seemed rusty, a little nervous. But then right after that, when Pat McAfee came out, I was like, "Give me Jesse the Body, give me more Jesse the Body." I don't want to listen to Pat McAfee anymore. But I did think Jesse got better as the show went on. Like the second time they went up to him, he was a little bit better, and I had a hard time hearing him in the main event when he actually was on color commentary because he was doing that BR stream and talking throughout the whole thing. He seemed like he did okay during that. I don't know. We'll get to it.
He tripped up Michael Cole at one point, making a joke about his snakeskin jacket was Damian, and it completely went over Michael Cole's head. He had no idea what the Damian reference was. So
both Cole and McAfee called it Saturday Night Main Event, like singular. Within like the first 5 minutes they were on the air, I noticed called it by the
Jesse
wrong
Ventura also called Kevin Owens Kevin Owen.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yep. So we had some errors, but yeah, the way it was dressed up, I like that they use that understated entranceway that they use, back at Backlash in Puerto Rico, and they've used it maybe a couple of times since then. But they had it lit up to look like the 1992 WWF entranceway initially, with the way the lights were that they used to use. Yeah, definitely in 92 is when they used that, and some of the early days on Raw, I think too. So that was cool. I know that they're not going to use the WWF logo because of legal reasons. I think they could use it in the US, but they can't use it worldwide is the deal from that lawsuit. So they're not going to do that. So they have to do the stupid WW logo. I get that. it kind of ruins it a little bit for me, just being a traditionalist. That said, if I was to critique one thing I think they could have done better is on the turnbuckles. Instead of having the full color WW logo, it would just be like stitched, kind of like how it actually was back in the day, because they didn't have like the full color WWF logo on the turnbuckles. I think they should make those a little more understated next time, but that's a minor nitpick. I mean, outside of that, A+ job. This was the nostalgia hit very well for me, I thought.
How about the referees and their attire?
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. The blue shirts. Yeah. No stripes. So that was a nice touch too. Absolutely. All right. So the opening match was Sami Zayn taking on Drew McIntyre, which, if you're not going to open with one of the title matches, this is probably the way to go for sure. I might open with a triple threat just to have a world title match right out there. But if not, I mean, here you go. Two of the best workers in the company. They had a really good match. Jay, did you have the times on all the matches you said?
Yep. Yeah.
Right,
so this one, there was 7 minutes and 14 seconds made the broadcast, but then there was the commercial break 2 minutes in. So live crowd would have seen 10 minutes, 14 seconds. But that, after the break, the 5 minutes, that was basically the televised portion, they hit hard, man. Those two, they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And this was also it held pretty true to the original Saturday night's main events, where they had commercial breaks during every single match tonight. So that was accurate. Jesse, what do you think of this match?
My favorite of the night. These two had great chemistry together. I mean, Drew, first match back since Hell in a Cell. No wear and tear really there, and Sammy. So I will ask this. What did you guys think of them? And I know Brian brought this up in our Facebook group, of them going to commercial within 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the match starting. Did it throw you off? Because, I mean, I didn't really notice it at first. Then the last two matches, like, okay, this is kind of irritating. I wish it would have gone on a little bit longer.
I noticed it only because I was doing the timing, because I was genuinely curious, because when I watch a Dynamite or a Collision, it's honestly like the 120 minutes with picture-in-picture taken out, like, because watching it the international feed, you see it. It's usually like 100 minutes of wrestling in that 120 minutes, which some could argue is maybe too much. Like a little breathing room would be okay. But so I noticed it. I think if they would have had a shorter entryway for shorter entrances, the 2 minutes wouldn't have been that bad. But you ended up having like 8 to 9 minutes of like people coming out, then 2 minutes of action and a commercial. And it just felt very disruptive.
Mm-hmm. I started out watching it on NBC, and then I switched over to Peacock. And when I first went to Peacock, I thought that I might get bonus footage like between when it went to commercial, because I have the premium Peacock where you usually don't have the commercials on the PLEs and everything, but you still got the commercials on there, which was a little disappointing. I thought, oh, maybe I'll just get it without commentators or something when they go to commercial, but nope, you had the commercials on the Peacock app too, regardless. So I thought it was disruptive. Again, it was, they had it back in the day too. It would happen like that, but I wish we could get around that. It definitely threw off the flow of the matches, I thought, tonight. But especially given how short the matches were too. I mean, they could have structured it in a way where that was not happening, but unfortunately, not the case. This match, I would agree with Jesse. This was my favorite match of the night, easily. Right off the top, McIntyre was pretty much dominating Sammy. He had Sammy kind of fighting back from underneath. He ended up delivering a Blue Thunder Bomb, got a 2 count out of that. Crowd was, by the way, we'll talk with Frank about this when he jumps on. Crowd was awesome tonight. Mm-hmm. They were hyped. They were into everything. I don't think that was crowd sweetening by WWE's production. I think they were legit just loud as hell.
Definite fan of that for sure. Yeah, I mean, and I guess this goes to show two things: that WWE fans can actually care about in-ring products when it matters, especially on this night. And then the other thing is WWE also learned that they can easily cram 5 matches into 2 hours, as opposed to stretching out a PLE and making it 3 hours and 20 minutes with 5 matches and egregious commercials.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, they ended up having McIntyre roll out to the floor. He dodged the haluva kick, and they also, I noticed when they did that, they're kind of explaining what the moves were to the audience, which I thought was a good idea because you probably did have quite a few people watching tonight that don't ever watch WWE. So they made a point at times to kind of explain to those people tuning in who were, not used to watching pro wrestling, what they were watching, who these people were, what the moves were. And they explained what the haluva kick was. And then McIntyre piped in, yeah, it's a hell of a kick or something like that. But yeah, then they had the break with McIntyre rolling to the outside. And in the end, he hit Sammy with the Claymore kick, got the pinfall victory. I mean, not surprising at all. With McIntyre being fresh back, I assume he's not going to lose much here for a while. So this was the expected finish, I thought. Any other thoughts on this match, you guys?
All right.
They were just getting started.
Yeah.
In my personal opinions, I wish
Yeah,
they had gone
yeah.
on an extra 5 or 6 minutes, to be honest. I'd guess with a 2-hour card like this, maybe you wanted 4 matches. But at the same time, I think Jay has all these match times. I don't mind that they gave some of these 10 minutes. That's the way it used to be. It's kind of the way that we like it. And I just, yeah, this is something this is my first and last AEW mention of the show. I wish AEW would take a note of that.
Yeah. I second that. I couple things. I think two people whose finishers are kicks that can come out of nowhere just makes for an inherently exciting match anyway, because kick finishers are awesome and they both know how to psychologically use them really well. I didn't know where they were going to take the match because I still think there's life in a potential Sammy tease for the title at some point. I don't know if Drew has that. So, but then at the same point, it makes sense for Drew to win. Sammy's the always underdog, obviously. Going to your point though about explaining the moves, I will say, and that's a good point. Not watching the current product like religiously, I check in fairly regularly, but I do feel like I could have turned on this not having seen WWE in like 5 years and understood what was happening because they did a nice job priming everything that was on the screen.
Yeah, 100%. Always a strength with them. I mean, you watch the PLEs, you watch those pre-match hype videos. You don't even need to watch the weekly TV. You'll know immediately, what's happening. So, yeah. All right. Well, Frank should be here momentarily, I do believe, but we'll keep running on down the card. And if you guys are just joining us now, help us out and like this video on YouTube, by the way. If you haven't already clicked the like button or subscribe to the channel, please do both of those, but especially the like button too, because that'll help us rank. I'm sure there's like 100 shows going on right now on YouTube reviewing Saturday night's main event. So the more likes we can get, the better to rank in that algorithm. 100%.
We've also been on a lot longer than those shows have been too, I'm sure.
Yeah, 8.5 years with Top Rope Nation. If you guys are checking in for the first time, we've been at this a good while. We're not new to the scene, so help us out. Absolutely, help us out. They go from that match to the WWE Women's World Title with Liv Morgan defending against Io Sky. Again, like this seemed pretty preordained from the beginning. I like Io Sky a lot as a wrestler. She's probably in my top 3 favorites in WWE easily, but I didn't expect her to win the title here. They still got the stuff with Rhea going on. So, you just kind of hope that they have a decent match. Again, the crowd was super into this one too, for anything you want to say about Liv Morgan. And, I don't think she's a tremendous worker by any means, but the crowd was into both of them as characters, I thought, throughout the match. How long did this one go, Jay? Just out of curiosity.
5 minutes, 20 seconds of it made the air. So 8-minute match for the crowd.
Okay. That's probably about right. Unlike that opening one, I don't think they needed any more time than that out there. You do too long of a match and Liv starts being exposed as a worker a little bit. So
she's evidently the wrestler of the year, though. What the hell is that?
Wait, who was that? I didn't even see that. Who gave her
Liv
that?
Morgan. They kept saying it on commentary that she's a
Oh, I
candidate
missed
for
that.
Wrestler of the Year. I'm like,
Oh,
in
she's a
Nice.
candidate.
what
Okay.
world? Huh.
Jesus, that's bad.
Her
That's
character's
bad.
great. I will give her all the credit in the world. Like she is absolutely charismatic, and she has found a fun character with is it Rodriguez and Dominic kind of trailer. I think that's a cool look, but yeah, there's not enough in ring there to say she's anywhere close to being the Wrestler of the Year.
No, and that's kind of weird for someone who's like a heel too to be pushing that narrative. Like, oh yeah, she's a Wrestler of the Year. No, that's you want to on commentary you want to undermine her a little bit as a heel, I think. But yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Which is why my rhetorical question is, because you mentioned Liv Morgan's prowess in the ring, was that the best match she's ever had in ring? I'd almost put it up there. It was 8 minutes too. I thought it was a solid sprint. I mean, Io got not a lot out of her, but enough to make her look very good. And I did see that Liv had a little more pep in her step too. So yeah, like again, I was thoroughly entertained all night long. I think it's because of the match length times. Nothing more out its welcome. They had to be on a structure. So this benefited Liv Morgan's case for Pro Wrestler of the Year.
I mean,
what?
What's interesting is none of these matches really got much time, but like at least to me, the 2 hours really flew by. And maybe the next one won't be like that at the end of January because I won't be so hopped up on nostalgia. But that's probably part of it is just soaking in the nostalgia as I was watching. But like this show just flew by like really, really fast, and I didn't feel like there was too much fluff in between either. It just I don't know. It was very well paced all throughout. I have to give him credit on that.
Yeah,
But,
they showed Tito Santana and Rich Herring, who I didn't know, even though he'd been with the company for 5 decades. And Jimmy Hart also looking quite old.
That was fun. Jimmy Hart looks the exact same that he has forever looked. Like it's crazy to me.
Yeah, he doesn't really look that much different. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of hair dye in that hair, but I mean, he does a pretty good job masking that age. That's for sure.
You also got to wonder as well if Jesse had been on commentary at that time, would he have called Tito Chico?
Yeah,
probably. Old habits die hard.
Reminds me of the autographed copy of "Don't Call Me Chico" that I bought from Tito at the Waterloo wrestling event we went to.
That's right. I forgot about that. He had quite the setup at the merch stand there.
He
a lot
did.
of stuff. He had some good shirts. Good shirts too. So yeah, I guess late in this match, just real quick, I'm not going to talk about a lot of the moves tonight. Don't have too thorough of notes, but we did have Io Sky hit a trio of German suplexes. Then she slipped off the top rope, which stalled that momentum. They had the bullet train attack, and then she set up for over the moonsault, but Morgan got her knees up, delivered Oblivion, scored the victory, and then the big highlight after that was as she's walking up the entranceway, out comes Rhea Ripley. They do this face off with Liv holding up the title and continuing that feud for the next few months. Probably it's been going on a while now, but I mean I think that's gonna continue. So that's why this finish was not unexpected, but you got the face off there, which is probably what the crowd wanted to see in the end. They got to see Rhea Ripley and her face off of Liv Morgan. So
Io also stiffed Liv with a Kamigoye knee. I mean, that was flush.
Bleeding from her left nostril. Yeah.
Kudos
she
to
looked
that.
a little dazed as she was walking up the aisle.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest with you.
And to Pat McAfee's credit, he actually noticed it and asked and made it a question after the match about maybe her nose is broken. How will this affect the rest of her title campaign? Which surprised me from him. Normally he's a bunch of caffeine and word vomit, but
yeah,
that was all right.
Yeah, I mean, I just to wrap this up again, crowd was great. Morgan got a lot of boos throughout, so I mean, they were definitely really into her as a character. They had a couple of nice little key touches throughout. Like at one point in time, there was a graphic that came up on the screen that talked about Io Sky was 6-2 in title matches, which, given WWE booking, that's pretty impressive. They've kept her strong whenever she's had a chance at a title in the company. So kudos on that. Michael Cole noted on commentary that Liv Morgan has not lost a singles match since March, which was a nice detail as well.
Yeah.
So
Someone brought up to me, by the way, I'll be quick.
Yeah.
It brought up to me that was to Becky Lynch on Raw, March 11th, and said that, and I looked it up on Cage Match, and that actually is her highest rated match by fans. Yeah, they put it up there highly. I'm like, well, maybe I'll go watch it just to see if it was, because, Liv Morgan again. I mean, I'd say props to her tonight. Keep that run going. Just don't fall back to your work rate, your horrid work rate, excuse me.
Yeah, no, agree. All right, so then we get the triple threat for the men's World Heavyweight Championship with Gunther defending against Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And, another circumstance here where obviously Gunther wasn't going to lose the title. I don't think Balor even really is deserving of a sniff at the World Heavyweight title at this point in his career, but Damian Priest absolutely is. We've talked about this on the pod, and I know when he got the title last spring, I definitely was very vocal in bashing it, that it didn't make much sense because he was so many rungs down the ladder from the top of the card at that moment in time. I feel like they felt obligated to pay off the Money in the Bank stipulation, and that's kind of why they put it on him. But he used that opportunity, man, to prove his worth. And I thought that his title run was very good. I think he really came into his own as a world champion. And I think he does deserve a run with the title down the line. Now, obviously, it wasn't going to be kickstarted tonight, so I wasn't surprised at the finish whatsoever. But Jay, what did you think of this match? And give us the time on this one.
Yeah, so again, this one, the commercial started very abrupt. It was 1 minute and 4 seconds into the match. 7 minutes, 37 seconds total made air. So 10-minute, 30-second match. I again, with the outcome not being in place, I didn't think there was any reason for a 40-minute Gunther classic by any means. So I thought it was fun for what it was. I didn't watch much of Damian Priest's title reign, but from the outside looking in, and I've loved Gunther from his Walter Indie days prior to NXT. Been cool to see his success. I think Damian Priest just looks like a freaking star right now. Like the whole appearance just does it for me. So it'll be cool to see what they do for him.
I still have not watched that documentary they made on him that came out, I think, in the summertime, right before SummerSlam. I got to watch that still. Just thought of that. Did either of you guys catch that?
Mm-mm.
No, I haven't.
Heard it was really good. Yeah, I heard it was really good, but haven't had a chance to see it yet. Jesse, your thoughts on the triple threat?
Another good sprint. They mentioned on commentary that Finn Balor has 1% body fat. I also mentioned that also equals the amount of singles wins / he's had on television in PLE this year. He is now 1-9, and he gets a world title shot. Why?
Yeah.
Nice scarecrow bag from Batman Begins in the video.
What was that? Is that a thing he does normally?
That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it. This is not Finn Balor from 2015 or 16. So, no. Gunther, impressive again. Both actually had some really nice shotgun drop kicks. Give him that. But, yeah, I thought the finish was cool with Gunther hitting the sleeper on the outside to Priest. And, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, easy winner here. So, but again, get Finn Balor out of any type of discussion for a title except for the tag team, I suppose.
I mean, even Justin Joint, who at one point in time was the biggest Finn Balor mark you could find around these parts, he has totally abandoned Finn at this point in time. And he if he was on the show tonight, he would be telling everyone too, like, why was he in this match? Get him out of there. So yeah, Finn has really fallen on hard times these days.
Yeah, I will say good save by Gunther as well on that power bomb to the outside of the steel steps, because that could have been a botch gone wrong. Way to show some patience there and follow through with the move.
Yeah. No, there was a couple of points. I feel like early in this match, again, my notes are pretty thin tonight. I'm just trying to take in the show, but there's at least one spot early where it looked like Balor and Priest might work together a little bit, despite their history and the split in the Judgment Day. But then as the match went on, they were, kind of costing each other the match, and that was the story. And it allowed Gunther to stay alive. And of course, Gunther retains. You mentioned the spot on the ring steps, and then Balor got the power bomb inside the ring and the pinfall. So yeah, Gunther retains. And with that, we've got somebody in the green room right now. Someone who was in the Nassau Coliseum tonight. I think it's time to bring this man on. I called him Top Rope Nation's Maverick. Here he is. Frank Pettiani. Let's bring him on the show. Frank, how's it going, my man?
That is what's going in the glass tonight, fellas.
Well, look at that. Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA. Nice.
If you like that and you like this shirt, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Nice. He's got the Saturday Night's Main Event merch on. Living the life. My God, Ryan Huffman is here in the chat. And Ryan Huffman has brought me back some of that beer a couple of times when he's gone out of state because we don't have it in Iowa. But really? I have had it. It's solid.
Okay. There is a cat. I have it. Yes. Okay.
Frank's wife also doing a guest spot on the show.
We have to, yes, Mrs. Petty. Yes, we have to. I have to bring a cat bowl. Hang on 1 second.
Okay. All right.
The pod caught that one. That was awesome.
Almost like when my kids did the run-in the other day. That's
a big reason why I wasn't on Classics this morning, because you would have heard a lot of that.
My middle daughter screaming at my oldest child right outside the door as we were doing that morning show. I played it to her like clear as day, where she's screaming, Eden! Oh my God. All right. I'm checking up on
Sophie was disappointed that she couldn't do the podcast tonight. She had no interest in watching Saturday Night's Main Event because she, quote, I don't watch WWE, Dad. I'm like, good. I've raised you well.
Jay is raising a wrestling snob. This is
unreal.
Salud, gentlemen. Salud.
Screaming at Chris Jericho at Dynamite on Wednesday. But
on that point, Jay, I overheard what you just said. My kids actually prefer AEW shows.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And their answer is, I know more people from AEW. I found that interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow.
Well, my daughter, so Caitlin, my older one, is a big MJF person. And I swear to God, I think I'm related to Michael Jenkinson because she can't stand Adam Cole. She doesn't care for, what's his name? Fletcher. And I know Michael's not crazy about him either. So all of Michael's tastes are my daughter's taste. So Michael and I might be like distant cousins or something.
To your point, Jay, about your daughter wanting to stay up and do the pod, is she still listening to the show? Because I know you told me she was asking to listen to Top Rope Nation before.
I have her. I usually will listen to curated snippets with her on the drive to and from places because, let's be honest, sometimes if you go ranty on us, there are some things I don't want her hearing, So, but
that's true.
Yeah.
Considering I'm around your kids, sometimes you probably can't play that in the car.
Worry about filtering Justin more than anybody.
True.
That's probably fair.
I played a few of Kyle's. I had to play the Gunther when when Walter first changed his name to Gunther.
Yeah,
I think I played that like 10 times for my kids.
Gunther. That's when Kyle tuned out. We mentioned that on Classics this morning about how Kyle, he mentioned he hasn't watched a bit of any modern wrestling and just the old stuff. And I was like, and that's why Kyle's not on the show anymore. That's why he retired. He couldn't stomach it anymore. Yeah. But it was great this morning to have him on Classics and talking Survivor Series 92. So you guys need to check out that one on Patreon. But Frank, let us know, man. What was it like getting in there, by the way? That line, you were sending us pictures on the Facebook group. My God, what a mess WWE had on their hands.
So I don't know who's responsible for what, but there was absolutely no organization. When you go to the UBS Arena, you have people telling you, okay, go this way. You know what I mean? And then at the doors, hey, go here, go here, go here. There's 4 or 5 people directing traffic. I don't know if that's on, the guest of the evening or the arena itself. So it's hard for me to place blame. But every time we go to the Nassau Coliseum, it's a mess. So like what ended up happening was tonight was they had like this tent, right? Like I thought it was at a freaking farmer's market the way it looked. And it was like right by the entrance. So you really couldn't see the entrance, from like where you walked around, like where we parked. When you go to the Nassau Coliseum, you have to kind of like walk around a little bit. And there's only like one way in. There's only like one set of doors. It's really crappy, honestly. If my buddy Justin Girardi is listening, he'll tell you it's lipstick on a pig, that place. And they redid it too. Like when the Islanders left, they redid it, and it's that place could be torn down tomorrow, and I wouldn't care less.
Huh.
So anyway, the point being was like that tent kind of blocked what was going on. So what you ended up having to do was like there was this line and then there was like a merchandise truck. So you had to like go around the truck, and then there was like a freaking ocean of people. Like it was like it might as well have been the whole crowd. And it was just everybody was just like piling into the doors, but there was no lines, there was no organization. But like once you got there, that's when everything started to move. But the point was there was like nobody there telling you that. And we're all like, do we get offline? Do we like try to find out what's going on? Because you don't want to lose your place in line either, So Erin, my wife, she took Cameron, my younger daughter, she did the walk around, and then she called me. She's like, yeah, come on in. I just had to find them. And, once I did, it was, once I found it, we were in the door in like 5 or 10 minutes. So I guess once you figured it out, but yeah, so that was that. It was the usual, the concourse, and like I said, any Islander fan will tell you it's such a mess because there's only like one concourse level for both the lower bowl and the upper bowl. So what ends up happening is like all the concession stands and all like the merchandise stands, there's lines like a country mile. So like by the point that we got in, it was like, I don't know, I was texting you, it was like 7:15. Like we thought we got there in great time. It was like 7:05, right?
Yeah.
I picked my daughter up. She had something to do with the Girl Scouts or whatever. We went, we ate. Because I told him, I says, we got to eat dinner before we go. We're not relying on going to the Nassau Coliseum. It's just going to be a mess. So we went, we got McDonald's, this and that. And then we went, got there at 7:05. I thought we were home free. And then we dealt with the mess I just explained. But anyway, we got in the door. It was about 7:35. All of a sudden, I hear Theory and Waller's music. I'm like, great. Now, whatever. It was a dark match. It was against the Motor City Machine Guns, which we ended up actually seeing because we're walking by the stands, line out the door, concession stand, line out the door, all the shit, so we just let's just go sit down and then we'll figure it out later. So so that was that. And then they I'm assuming you guys didn't see the entrances of Michael Cole and what's his nuts there, Tessitore.
No.
But they got nice ovations. Cole, I'm so used to Cole getting booed, because Aaron and I, we were going to a good number of like SmackDowns in like the Barclays Center a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and every time Cole would come out, he would get, and this is years after the stupid heel turn back in, 2011, but he got a nice ovation. Jesse got a nice ovation, but you were on the air at that point. You guys saw Jesse come out.
Yeah.
So he really got a nice ovation. That little Saturday night's main event booth, I thought that was a nice touch. It's funny. Like I would have rather of them like commentated from there, because isn't that how they used to do it right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The old shows, like I'm like, oh great, they're gonna comment it. No, they got the freaking desk by the whatever.
That's what I thought too. When they threw it to them, I thought they were going to do that just like the old days. But at least they had the setup. That was cool. I liked it.
Was Cole at least in a bow tie like Vince?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I honestly can't remember.
Cole needed to be in a bow tie for this to work,
Yeah.
Tessitore was.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. We noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biscuit Biscuit's making an appearance on the play. Everybody say hi to Biscuit. He's got to crawl on the. Every time I do a podcast down here, he's got to crawl on the counter. So
What a glory hog, this cat.
See you Monday,
Got to
Biscuit.
get on the air.
he's he's the heel of the group. He's the heel of the group for sure. But yeah, no, Jesse. Jesse got a nice reaction. There were people around him. Of course, he was. He was hamming it up with a couple of people down there by the ramp. As you would expect Jesse would. McAfee got a nice response too. McAfee got a really nice response. Obviously, you guys saw that, but the crowd was into him. Caitlin, my daughter loves McAfee. She loves him. I'm like,
oh no, Caitlin, come on. You got to school her on McAfee.
What are you gonna do?
Aaron Rodgers, no. Ugh.
I mean, listen, I appreciate the guy. I appreciate the guy's energy and love for the product. I do appreciate that, but it gets to a point where, like, what I don't like is that he makes it about him. That's really more my issue than anything else, and it's not, he's not there to offer anything to give me any insight from the product, Maybe I'm expecting a lot because I grew up, as we all did, listening to Jesse Ventura, and I was learning and I was, you know what I mean? Like McAfee just doesn't, it's all about him. It's all about putting on a show. I can only imagine what the broadcast was like with him tonight.
Well, I'm stunned. I, for one, am stunned, Frank, that a guy who has a weekly Aaron Rodgers segment on his show would be all about himself. Hard to imagine. Yeah, he was, I was not surprised he got that reaction when he came out because people like him. I understand why he was on the show because he's this big media personality and his show's successful. So I can't fault him for that. I'm just not a fan. I did queue up one of those pictures that you texted me of. Here you go. If you're on the video stream, Frank sent me this picture waiting to get in the arena, and it was cold out tonight too. Yeah.
Oh, it was like, and I'm texting Wade, and I'm like, he's like, "What's the temperature?" I'm like 29. He sends me a picture with like him and his dog, and in his like snow jacket. I'm like, listen, I need some of that Minnesota. Well, actually, Jesse, you're from Minnesota, so I need some of that Minnesota energy. That you can.
Yeah.
29 is probably like a sauna to you.
After the last 2.5 days, yes, 29 today was a sauna to us.
That's awesome.
It's been real cold here for Jay and I too.
Yeah. But that was the thing. Like that was the line. That was the line I was telling you about that we were on initially, and then everybody was behind it, and like nobody knew what to do. Nobody, there was nobody there. Nobody was telling us what was going on. And then the one guy, oh yeah, WWE got a late start, but he really didn't explain what happened. I'm sitting there like, when did you book the show? Like you didn't book this months ago? $1 billion
report about
that.
Yeah, Fightful had a report about that, and they said they were rehearsing in the venue pretty much right up until the doors opened, and that it was super late. They got the doors open like 40 minutes late or something like that.
Ridiculous.
That's insane.
Ridiculous.
40 minutes
late. And then you got, like I said, you got nobody organizing anything. You just got everybody there piled on, and anyway, could lament about that all night.
So we've covered the first 3 matches. And like you heard us just talking about the triple threat. But I mean, at this point in time, we all liked Sammy and Drew the most. That opener was really good. Yeah. Was that your thought?
It had good energy. Both guys were over, actually. One thing that does bother me about the modern audience is that they pop for everything, even for heels. Even for heels, like hitting finishers and about to hit finishers and stuff like that. Like, excuse me, even during the triple threat, when I think it was Priest that Finn was about to do the coup de grace, and he's going up and they're cheering. And I guess I can understand it to a point, but it's a heel. It's just something that bothers me about the modern audience. That's not necessarily an in-person perspective thing. That's more of just a thing about today's wrestling fan, but people were into that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, Sammy and Drew. Now they were into that. They were into Sammy. I kind of thought the U.S. title match would go on first, just to have that, prestigious new title. Excuse me. Let me get a little shoveling here in front of me. That prestigious title, victory first. That landmark occasion on Saturday night's main event. But I'm glad they went with Sammy at Drew, and right finish. It was over. I had my head turned for a second. There was no interference on the outside, right? Like, I know Sammy hit the Blue Thunder Bomb, and then it looked like he went to like the outside for a second, and then he came back in, and then Drew hit. There was no interference, right? Okay.
No.
Finish.
No. I had my head turned for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. Of course, every time that happens to me in the arena, then the finish happens. I'm like, great, I missed something.
Yeah. No interference.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm glad they did that.
I got to ask you too. So, before we get to the fourth match, how does the arena, Nassau Coliseum, compare to some of the other venues around New York as far as acoustics go? Because on the broadcast, it sounded super loud, and I don't think that was WWE sweetening the sound. It just seemed like that crowd was super loud, really into it. There's some arenas around the country, older venues, kind of like Nassau Coliseum, like we always talk about the Allstate Arena, former Rosemont Horizon, and how that one's built, and it's just a really, really loud arena. I mean, how does this one compare to like the Garden or Barclays as far as the acoustics go?
It's been a while. I haven't been to the Garden in about 5 years, but they redid, as I mentioned earlier, they redid Nassau Coliseum. I want to say it was 2015, 2016, something like that. Whenever the Islanders went to the Barclays Center, and they actually reduced the seating capacity. It was a weird story, a whole weird situation. So I think by reducing it, everybody's a little more concentrated, so the crowd is going to sound a lot louder. Because I noticed that even at World's End, when I went to when Aaron and I went to World's End last year, it's a lot louder. I think I'm trying to compare it to like the UBS Arena. I think the UBS Arena is not as loud as the Nassau Coliseum can get. And Madison Square Garden is probably like somewhere in the middle. But yeah, no, Nassau. And plus, you got to remember too, like Nassau Coliseum doesn't get these events the way they used to. I mean, WWF was running them monthly, right? Back in the day. So when you get a crowd there, you're going to get a hot crowd because they're, you know what I mean? Like they haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a lot hotter for it. But anyway, back to the original question. I think by reducing the capacity, it actually made the acoustics a lot louder than what it had been in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we've even mentioned this on the pod. The reason they ran there is because this is where the very first Saturday night's main event was, which was a cool throwback to run that older venue for sure. All right, so let's jump ahead. So we just covered the triple threat, and we'll get to the illustrious Women's U.S. Championship and the crowning of the first Women's U.S. Champion, as Frank just talked about, between Chelsea Green and Mia Yim Michin. I was not surprised by the result. I thought it was the right result. Chelsea Green has just been unbelievably entertaining for about the last year on WWE. I got to tell you, my two older girls absolutely love Chelsea Green, and they were running around yelling when she won. They were so happy Chelsea Green won. So kudos to that. Definitely the right decision. Now, does the title really mean anything? We talk about it in this show all the time. Less is more. Certainly when you have a company who doesn't really have the talent depth to have a women's tag team championship division, I'm not sure that they need two mid-card titles. In fact, I know they don't need two mid-card titles, but this is what they want to do. So if you're going to do it, Chelsea Green, I believe, is the correct choice. Jay, match time. Jay had the clicker out. He was timing all these matches tonight, Frank. He's got it all for us. So match time, Jay. And what'd you think?
Minute 17 was when they cut to commercial. 4 minutes, 38 seconds is what aired. So 7 minute, 38 second match. I completely love Chelsea Green. I loved her when she was released, and her and Cardona were kind of just out doing their thing, being weirdos on the indie scene. And then I love that they've let her kind of shine and just be her weird, eccentric self on WWE. So, not sure. I have mixed feelings about, do you kick off a title with what's generally a comedy act, but she's over. And I thought that finishing move she did was sweet. Like, I thought that was like the single best in-ring moment of the night. So, so yeah, didn't really care who won, but it was short, inoffensive, and I thought the more enjoyable of the two performers was rewarded with the new title.
Yeah. Jesse, your take.
Yeah, I'm going pretty much the same way. It almost looked like Bandito's tripleplex, or that 21 tripleplex that he does for his finisher. Welcome back when he shows up here in the next week or two. So yeah, you had to go this route. She had a clean win over Bailey last night too, which was that's a statement. Yeah, it really is. But again, trying to carve out television time for a women's mid-card title when you have issues sometimes with your men's mid-card titles, especially the United States title. I know the Intercontinental, they're featuring that a lot more these days. I think Gunther, they've done a good job even after with Sammy and Braun and just being in front of people every week. Yeah, they're going to have a problem here. And I know, if I recall, SmackDown's going to 3 hours as well in January.
Unfortunately.
So I know. So I guess now you have zero excuses to not highlight this championship, unfortunately. So
is Raw staying 3 hours on Netflix?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man.
Well, they don't really have, if I'm not mistaken, they don't really have like a time limit on that, right? They could just do whatever it is they need to do, and then when the show's up, right? Because
That's true.
You're not airing on a network, so you're not worried about what's coming up next. So,
do you know, will they air like internationally on Netflix too, or will they have still international TV deals?
No, I think everything's going to, because they're canning the WWE network. That's dead. So I think everything is everything's going on Netflix. Yeah, and I saw some conflicting stuff on that. Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah, for the most part, I don't know. There might be a couple of countries here and there. I'm not positive on that, but yeah, for the most part, it's all getting shifted to Netflix. Like even here, they're gonna pull all the Raws off of Peacock.
Oh, really?
And move them to Netflix. And I know people are kind of panicking that they're not going to upload all the Raws and we're going to lose some of the catalog. So you might want to start stockpiling your hard drives with downloaded content because apparently, and then when the Peacock deal ends, I think it's all going to move to Netflix here too. And the word is they're not going to move a lot of the classic content there, and it's going to be gone. So I mean, here's your argument for having actual physical media. With streaming, it can just be poof, gone. And we saw this when the network died in the US, and it took them forever to move some of that over to the Peacock deal. And now when Peacock shuts down, or the WWE section of Peacock shuts down eventually, I think that's 2026. I don't think they're planning on re-signing them, and I think it's all going to Netflix, or maybe that's already decided. But they're not going to be they're not going to move a lot of like the territorial content or any of that. I think that's just going to be gone, unfortunately.
I think the pay-per-views. Hopefully,
they should have the pay-per-views, although I think it was Meltzer was saying that they're going to concentrate on WWE pay-per-views. So like a lot of the WCW and ECW ones might not get moved to Netflix, unfortunately. So
how am I going to watch New Blood Rising every year?
Yeah, there you go, man.
Unfair.
Lost for eternity.
I need to see Bash at the Beach 2000.
Oh God. Oh, that was a fun classic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Survivor Series 94, baby. That's my jam.
We just talked about this on TRN Classics this morning because I brought up the old Survivor Series Showdown shows that they would do. And Survivor Series Showdown 92 was on the old WWE network as like a hidden gem, I believe. And it's not on Peacock, and it's not on the WWE Vault page yet, where they've been releasing a lot of that stuff. So it's not officially out there now from them. And it originally was on the old network. So
yeah.
I think in about a year and a half, some of us that are into the old stuff are going to be really, really frustrated, unfortunately, unless you have it saved somewhere. But the issue for them is that there's not a lot of the hardcore fans like us, and that stuff just doesn't get streamed a lot on Peacock. So when they look at the data, they feel like it's not worth their effort to move the entire thing over, I guess. So that's unfortunate. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, this is the right decision. Again, the title probably is not going to end up meaning a whole hell of a lot, but Chelsea Green's done a great job. So yeah, happy for her.
And it was over in the building. It was, her winning the unprettier was over. Her winning the title was over. I was saying to somebody before the show, it's too bad Cardona is doing Ring of Honor, because I thought it would have been perfect for him to show up, seeing as that's his hometown, But yeah.
They didn't give two flying Fs about Mia Yim.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Jesse. Does this, Chelsea's beating a nobody to win this title. And that, to me, is what puts the title off to a bad start. Like, if Bayley's in the finals and Chelsea's beating Bayley, to me, that means something. Michin? Really?
She beat Tiffany Stratton last night.
That's another thing, too. I can't, not to go on a tangent, but I can't stand the Money in the Bank winners always losing. Vince had that same philosophy, and Triple H has picked it right up from his father-in-law.
100%.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I thought the WWE flipped everything on its axis when Vince left and Hunter took over.
There's no booking flaws anymore in this company. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. And the booker loves to put himself on TV too to make it.
I am what I say I am, and I say I'm perfect. I need the pen just now.
I was waiting for that, Jay.
Cinema. It's just cinema. All the influencers told me it was cinema, so it had to be cinema.
All right, let's get to the main event. Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. We were all kind of expecting the Winged Eagle to make an appearance. They teased in that video with Cody and Hunter and the case that he had and the glow coming from the case. And you know that Cody has been pushing for this now for a couple of years, that he wants to reinstate the Winged Eagle. And Cody, in fact, enters with the Winged Eagle, although I do have to say it was not the original Winged Eagle from the 90s. It was a remake with the WWE logo on it, if you look close. It's basically the replica that they saw in the shop, and they have ever since the name change. When he came out, I was looking so close because it looked so perfect. I'm like, is that the actual one with the F logo on it from back in the day? And you couldn't really tell until they finally zoomed in when I think Charles Robinson held it up, and then you could see it was the WW. But again, I understand why they have to do that with the lawsuit and the name change and everything. But man, it was so cool to see that belt on TV again. They called out Reggie Parks, who made the belt back in the day in 1988, and they mentioned they used that title until 1998. So 26 years since that styled belt has been on TV. And Jesse Velasquez had the quote of the night on our Facebook live thread of the show, which I'm going to put on the screen now.
I saw that.
That's incredible. Incredible stuff from Jesse. But yeah, there it is. There it is, right over my shoulder. That one has an F logo on it, by the way. Jay's seen that in person. Jesse's seen it in person too. But yeah, otherwise, it was a beautiful version of the belt. And, I got to say, I understand why they use this network logo belt, because it's all about branding, having that big WWE logo in your face that they can send around all the sports leagues and, put the plates on the side with their team names on it and everything. But at the same time, I've said this on the pod at different times over the years. There's a reason why the Larry O'Brien trophy has always looked like the Larry O'Brien trophy. And there's a reason why the Lombardi trophy will always look like the Lombardi trophy, and the Stanley Cup, and so on, and World Series. Because they're timeless, well-designed trophies. And, for the WWE, this is the best belt they've ever had. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt like they should just keep the belt. Yeah, update the logo on it. That's fine. Yeah. Put the little network logo up the top with the eagle. You could still do the stuff with the sports leagues. You could take off the side plates that they use and just put the sports the sports teams there or something. I wish they would just keep it around. It's such a perfect belt. I mean, between that and Big Gold from the NWA and WCW, to me, those are easily the two best title belts in the history of pro wrestling, at least for world titles.
I'm going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Does the title remind them of a period that they're trying to forget? Because if you think about it, the Winged Eagle came in '88, right? So we're at the tail end of Hogan. He bounces back and forth as the champion after that. Then, 92 hits the steroid era, Brett. And then, we go to 94 and then, a real dark period for the WWF. Does that remind them too much of that? And maybe that's a reason why they don't go back to it. I mean, my other theory is it's just new belts, merchandising, sales, get people to buy new titles. But does that title remind them of a period that they want to leave in the past?
I think when they introduced it, that was absolutely part of it because they were going into that new direction with the Attitude Era. And I think that they felt like they had to change kind of the whole image of the company. I think now one of the things is they've got a lot of these guys on the roster who are, a little bit younger than most of us, but still kind of grew up in that era. And they're nostalgic for those title belts, and they've been pushing for them to make a return. And they have this situation on their hands where like the guys want to go back to the old belts.
Yeah.
And they're so far removed, like, because Cody's been pushing for that. There was a lot of people pushing for the old tag styles, which is why they brought back with those new belts. They look like the old tag titles.
He pushed for the old IC belt.
Yeah. Yep. Back in the day.
12 or whatever it was.
Yeah. So I don't think that that's really part of it now, but I do think that was part of it in 98. And I think that now it's mostly about merchandising, selling the toys, and, getting that logo in front of everybody. By the way, there's a shot of Cody wearing it tonight. I mean,
and I am not Cody Rhodes' #1 fan by any means, but I will say of all the people to bring out that specific title, it looks really good on him.
Oh yeah.
And to have it be in a match with Kevin Owens, who probably had the exact same reaction that the picture that Jesse put up of you, Ryan. I think it was the perfect two to be fighting over the belt for a night.
Let me ask you three guys another question. How did it come off on TV? Because the reaction in the building was not what I expected.
To the Winged Eagle?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Like the reveal, just because I saw that he can't. By the way, our view was a little obstructed of the our view of the entrance, I should say, was a little bit obstructed. The tickets, I don't know if I'm going to WWE events moving forward because, my ticket was $100 a piece, and I had an obstructed view. If I went over one section and I was directly across from the ring, you're talking $150 a ticket. Okay, now. My day job, I do okay. All right. But I don't know if I feel like spending nearly $1,000 on pro wrestling tickets by the time I buy the tickets, park, buy food, merchandise, all of that. So you kind of got to pick your battles. But anyway, the point being, I saw Cody come out and I think he revealed it to one side of the arena. Didn't get the reaction I thought it would get. And then he's coming out and he's in the ring. Didn't get the reaction I thought it was going to get. Finally, when Robinson held it up, the people cheered, but I think they were cheering just because it was a title. I don't think they were cheering because it was the Winged Eagle. It was very surprising.
What were you going to say on that, Jay?
I thought Cody's reveal when he first came out was too quick, and then his robe kind of covered it up again. I thought it was much better once it got to the ring, and then they did some nice camera work when it was on the pedestal, by the ring to kind of emphasize it. But yeah. Usually Cody's like the ultimate showman too, because I was surprised that he didn't really let it linger. And then obviously the walkway was so narrow that his robe immediately kind of covered it. But
it wasn't as over as I thought it was going to be. I was shocked.
Yeah, it came across well on TV, but yeah, I can see why there was some issues with the reveal, like Jay mentioned, with it, getting covered by the robe and everything when he came down the narrow entranceway. But yeah, I mean, it looked great on TV. Looked really, really good on TV. Excited to see it. Jesse, your take?
Say, especially since Cody was so excited to receive it. I know they showed it on social media. He had a big old smile on his face. So no, I echo a lot of Jay's sentiments as well. He should have glammed it up like he always does. The showman, the poster boy, the code lander. He should have just.
Yeah. It wasn't handled. It wasn't handled the way I thought it was going to be handled. It was just very, I don't know. They just didn't think it out.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the ending of the match didn't see this long term. There's Kevin Owens posing with the actual original. They did a photo shoot. I don't know how long ago this was. This was probably almost 10 years ago when they did that photo shoot with all the original belts. That was so cool when they did this. But here you can see they actually blocked out the F logo from it. But that's one of the original Reggie Parks Winged Eagles.
Okay.
I was really hopeful, and I think all of us were, that they'd go with KO here. And I thought that there was a reason to do it from a number of perspectives. Number one, the status of Kevin Owens moving forward. There's been reporting out there. I don't really know what the true story is. If he's re-signed with WWE, if it's still hanging in the air. If you were trying to get that across the finish line, I would have put that in negotiations. I said that on the pod a couple of weeks ago. But also, just from the perspective of, I felt like Cody's title run just creatively has not been that fulfilling. He hasn't really had a lot of good challengers lined up. We've talked about this on the show a lot over the last few months. And then also just from the perspective of, all right, you're bringing back Saturday night's main event. You got all these new people tuning in on NBC, probably millions for the first time in a long time. If you pull a world title change, maybe they'll want to tune in next time. Who knows what can happen on this show? Like, the top title change hands. And, in the old days on Saturday night's main event, they didn't do title changes that often. That was called out on the broadcast. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you when they did what was, well, I'm thinking of main event 88, and I have a theory. What was the other one?
We weren't counting that one. No, there was HBK, which we covered over Davey Boy Smith.
Okay. You're counting Intercontinental. I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
There hasn't been a single world title change unless you count Andres over Hogan. But the other one was the Brainbusters over Demolition in 1989.
So my theory tonight wasn't the Winged Eagle introduced at that main event?
88, yeah, with the Andre Hogan. Yep.
So my theory tonight was, I wonder if they're going to do, since they're bringing back the Winged Eagle, will they put Kevin over Cody, since they did it when they introduced it during that show?
Yeah.
I'll wait to talk about. I'll let you guys, because I don't know if you know about the post match yet.
Jesse does, but I do not. I don't know if Jay does or not. But yeah, I thought the match itself was overbooked with all the ref bump spots and then getting the chair in there and everything. But again, you have to kind of give and take, because it's 2024 WWE, and this is what they do like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me out of it a little bit. But it seemed like I'll throw this to you, Frank. It seemed like when the finish. What's that?
Took my kids out of the match too, and my wife. Like, really?
Yeah.
Another ref bump? Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, 2 ref bumps. And then when they finally did the finish, where Cody hits the crossroads onto the chair, and then Robinson counted it like from the outside on the ring apron, it seemed like the crowd was not expecting that to be the finish. It kind of got immediate on TV. It seemed like a mediocre response when that was the finish. Like, people were kind of surprised that was the ending. Is that how it felt in the building?
Yeah, it was not. It was not something they expected, My kids actually said, "Is Randy Orton going to be the third referee?" I was like, "That would actually be awesome. That would actually be interesting."
Well, that's actually I told Ryan that before we went on air. Based solely on the video packages beforehand, I just assumed Randy Orton was going to play into the finish somehow, and was surprised. I also hate it when they do slow ref crawl over, and it ends up being the finish. Like, it just psychologically, it should always be a kick out in my head. So the days Charles Robinson doing it from the side of the ring just felt wonky.
And I think a lot of people didn't see it too, so it took everybody a minute to catch up. So that's probably what hurt the response. By the way, it looked like the ring was off center. My wife actually didn't like the setup. It looked like, because I know they had the long entrance ramp, and I'm assuming they did that to kind of give it that old feel. But it looked like it was off center, and that's how the Barclays Center actually looks like too. When they set up for wrestling, it looks like one side is bigger than the other. So I don't know if like maybe people on the other side just couldn't catch up to it, so that's why you got that response. And then I'll talk about it, another annoying thing that we dealt with all night. So yeah, I don't think I don't think people really people might have even been taken out of the match after the second ref bump too. I think people got annoyed and were just like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
Jesse, your take.
For the most part, at least he hasn't been doing the Roman Reigns of the last 4 years where ref bumps have been a thing, because I can't recall it happening with AJ Styles. It definitely didn't happen with the Kevin Owens match at Bash at Berlin. I see it did happen with Solo, but it makes sense. It's a bloodline thing. So, but again, with Cody and all of his title defenses, he's just basically inheriting what Roman did over the last 3 or 4 years, and that's wiping out the entire men's division.
Yeah.
So that's why people really don't care about it. I probably would have woke my kid up if Kevin Owens won the World Heavyweight title by cheering very loudly in my living room.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest with you, I think I wrote in the notes when Cody got the win, vomit. I really wanted to see Kevin win this championship, and now we'll let Frank talk about the post-match angle, but I was like, okay, well, maybe he could head to AEW. I mean, they've been really quiet about it, but my assumption is he had signed with World Wrestling Entertainment, and what happened afterward likely confirmed it.
So what happened?
Yeah, tell us, Frank.
So Cody is celebrating, and I knew when they went off. Well, I assumed when they went off the air because they weren't duplicating what was going on in the ring on the Videotron overhead. So at that point, I figured we were off the air. Maybe about 10, 15 seconds later, Kevin runs into the ring, attacks Cody, and then gives him that band pile driver, baby. And I got to watch the video again. I think it actually looked like a package pile driver.
It was.
It was the okay. All right. I was like, that's awesome, So he does that. Cody's laid out. Kevin grabs Winged Eagle. He starts holding it up. He's walking out. He's celebrating. They bring the stretcher out. And then he comes back in again, and he's got Winged Eagle, and he stands on top of Cody while medical attention is being given. So that's drawing a lot of heat. He's walking out of the arena, and then you guessed it, Hunter Hearst Helmsley meets him at the top. I'm sorry, I had to do that. I had to give Kyle there. John Paul Levesque comes out, and he meets him at the top of the ramp, and they get into it. And then Kevin walks to the back. Triple H walks over towards the Saturday Night's Main Event thing. Of course, we get a Triple H chant. And that was it. That's how we all went off the air, or not off the air. That was the post match. So that tells me they got something. Yep, there it is.
There's a picture of. I saw this floating on social media, so that's why there was the picture of him with the Winged Eagle. There you go.
The Canadian Dream, Kevin Owens.
So I don't know if this means maybe we're getting a rematch on Netflix because they want to do something big for that. I know it's a SmackDown deal. Maybe we're getting a rematch at the San Antonio show next month. There's definitely some options, but I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over for KO. Now, it's interesting that they're doing this whole thing with the pile driver, and we haven't seen Randy for a while. Like, they're not going to pull a deal where they're going to strip Cody of the title, are they? Like, we're not going that far, are we? I hope not.
Nah. I don't think
okay.
So.
But
I mean, he does like the old babyface tropes that, lose the title by not losing it and then have to fight back for it. I could absolutely see Cody going for something like that.
I don't think that's what they're doing, but that angle suggests that I don't think it's over. I think it's possible. Maybe the San Antonio show next month.
Yeah, I mean, it
Because they
sounds
did
for
a
sure
title.
like we could do another match.
They did a new, the prestigious United States Women's Championship here. They got their huge title win here, so I could do something for that.
Yeah.
I wish they would have shown that on TV. That sounds
Right.
like a much more satisfying end.
You know what?
Mhm.
I think it works better not on TV because it gets them social media clicks from a business standpoint. You know what I mean? Like it gets them that social media clicks. And now it's like, oh my God, I've got to tune into the next Saturday night's main event because who knows what could happen. You know, it's kind of that hook.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think it works better not on TV. But I do understand wanting to see it on TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at that finish, you know, Kevin's gonna play this up as, you know, he's in the right, and you know, Cody cheated because he used the chair, and what a way for a babyface to act, you know, and all of this, and yeah, he's a cheater. I deserve a rematch, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they'll show this attack, obviously on TV, clips of it, and yeah, we'll get the rematch. I mean, they could even do it at the Rumble. We'll see how they get there, but. Sounds like another match down the line. And man, I would love to see Kevin Owens win the title. But, you know, I think this would have been the night to do it just because of the big audience. Get people to believe they can see this on the next show and, you know, do something history making. But in the end, I mean, the matches were mostly cookie cutter matches, some decent ones, but the nostalgia is what really put it over the top for me. We all kind of came in with B grades on this show, Frank. And the nostalgia bumped it up for us quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. B, I was gonna say B minus. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
we were at B minus. Yeah,
It's unanimous.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing. There was nothing on the show. I do like that. There's, and I was explaining this to my my wife and kids. There's a little bit of the Saturday night's main event formula where they went back to matches that they had done before. You know, Sammy and Drew had a little bit of a series earlier. I think it was this year or last year, whatever, towards the end of the year. So that was always the Saturday night main event for revisit old matches. You know, even you could say that to a point with Cody and Kevin as they had a pay-per-view match. You know, now they're taking it to TV, and that's what they would do back in the day. So I kind of like, you know, even Gunther and Priest to a point. I know Balor wasn't involved. Well, he was involved in the finishes, but that's kind of a. So I like how they kind of get the old Saturday night's main event formula by doing it. Whereas, like, and I was talking about this on Then and Now last week. Like the '06 to '08 reboot was just like a continuation of what was going on, and that's not Saturday night's main event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just folded into regular canon. I mean, this is to a point too, but this was a little more of the older formula, whereas that '06 to '08 run was just like, well, it's just more TV. Why do I need this?
Yeah, they didn't feel really any different from Raw and SmackDown at the time. It was just
Right.
Raw on NBC. Yeah,
Right.
this at least felt like it had its own identity,
Yeah.
and I think the nostalgia of the look of it and everything is the right way to go about it.
I wish
I
they
mean,
didn't do the LED boards or like the LED. Like, I wish they kind of went to just the regular aprons and, you know, gave it more of an authentic feel. The fireworks, you know, I kind of wish they didn't have that, but I guess you got to appease the modern audience. I don't know. Am I being a little too rough?
well, no, because I thought I had heard too that they were not even gonna use a video board entrance at first. I thought I had heard that they were just gonna have like a curtain up essentially, like they used to have, or maybe like the logo above the entranceway. So when I saw the video this afternoon that, of course, Hunter put out that he was the star of, where he was in front of the
Such a
LED
humble
board
guy.
entrance, yeah, I was like, yeah, what other booker has made himself front and center all the time? I was like, really? Because I thought they were going to do just a simple throwback entrance, but I did like how they had it made out to look like that 1992 WWF entrance at times with the way the lights were on the LED board. But I agree with the area around the ring. I would prefer it to look more simplified. But of course, they're going to have to go with modern technology, probably just because of the standards in the industry. I mean, if you want to be real depressed, guys, about our age, think about this. So we're doing a show themed after 1985, essentially, or the mid to late 80s here tonight, almost 40 years ago. That'd be like in the 80s if they were theming a show around the 1940s. Wild.
Crazy. Yeah.
Wild to think about.
Yeah,
For a lot of
hell
this
of a radio
audience, the
broadcast.
80s is like so long ago.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
40s. My father was a baby.
Yeah. Yep. Imagine the 1940 shows in the 1980s. That's essentially what we had. But you know what? I dug it. I loved it. Can't wait for the next one.
You know, I got a
Just
theory
because
about
it's
Triple H. Ever since he lost that fateful match at Starrcade 94 to Alex Wright, he's right, Jesse?
That is correct.
Is that so? What is?
He's
Are
had
you
an
reviewing that one?
inferiority complex ever since he lost the Das Wunderkind.
Monday, Ryan, Frank, and I are recording about Starrcade 1994 on
Yes.
his show.
Nice segue.
Oh, it's been a rough year in terms of some of the stuff we've had to watch, Ryan. You should be happy you didn't have to watch Starrcade 1994.
That's
I
all right.
might. We haven't had our December
I'm going to
poll
say
yet.
1995 for him. Oh boy.
We still got. I mean, we got behind schedule a little bit with classics this month, but we made the schedule work. We got Kyle on, so now we're running behind to get our December classics in. But I will. I'll put up the post and with the nominations for $10 plus patrons, and then the poll here in the next week probably. So we might be recording it in early January, but we'll see.
Well, this is not one of those TLC pay-per-views. I'm good.
Oh yeah.
I'll have people's patronages revoked if Starrcade 1994 is thrown out there, Jay. Don't do it.
I don't know why you thought I would nominate it. I just that's
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Patreon, I forgot to throw out we had a new patron sign up. I forgot to give him the shout out on air, so I'm going to do it right now. Carter Allen. Thank you, Carter, for signing up for the Patreon page and joining the club. Appreciate
Worth
your
every
support.
penny. Worth every penny.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that too.
Much appreciated, Carter.
agreed.
Frank, thanks for joining us tonight, man. I know it's been a kind of a late night for you, getting over to the Coliseum, coming back, jumping on air, but it was valuable for us and definitely the listeners to hear from someone who was at the show tonight. So great addition.
Oh, I appreciate it. Oh, it's always a pleasure to do these shows with you. And yeah, anytime, man. Anytime I get to one of these and I know you're going to be recording, crap, we did this a couple of times already this year, right? We did, Jesse, I think you and I flew Forbidden Door. We flew that trip. And then I think I was on with you the morning after World's End. It was the three of us, me, you.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I guess I'll plug, let me replug Monday's show.
Yes.
Because I will be stealing Jesse for my continued look at 1994 wrestling. And that will wrap up with Starrcade 94. So, yeah, it was an interesting rewatch. I actually watched that show live. So one of the reasons I wanted to do it. Yeah. I went to my uncle's house. I went to his house that night. Because it was all about the Macho Man.
Yeah.
We're big Macho Man guys back then. So yeah, that's so yep. Looking forward to that, Jesse.
Good stuff. Check that out on Pro Wrestling Torch on Monday. Jay?
On the
Appreciate
YouTube page, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
On YouTube. So podcast is VIP. The podcast only is VIP, but it is available on YouTube. So
oh, nice. All right.
Broke behind the paywall.
There you go.
All right.
Jay, appreciate you joining the pod. First time on the flagship.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Jesse, thank you, sir. Glad it worked out.
Happy to make it, because if I hadn't, I'd have been like, okay, I went 0 for 2 today, because then I would have actually made my appearance on Classics this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long day for yours truly. 2 hours on Classics, about an hour on BR, and now an hour and a half with you guys. But this is the right way to wind it down with you three gentlemen. So
do you have to wake up and cover your woeful Bears tomorrow too, or are they?
Oh, they play on Monday night against Jesse's Vikings. They'll probably get spanked up there. So
that's right.
Yeah, I'll be ready for that one. Jesse, you must not have come up with tickets for that. I told you I'd go to it with you if you could have got tickets.
You did. No, I haven't. And who knows? I mean, the next 12 hours, all of a sudden someone will pop up with something. I'll let you know
You were in the
ASAP.
luxury box last year, right?
I got really, really lucky. Yeah, thanks to the famous Nas Reed fan guy.
That's right.
He's the one who came through with the free luxury box seats for that hideous Monday night game.
The Bears won that one. I don't think they're going to be winning this one.
12
things are
to
dire.
10.
Yeah.
Could be
Yeah.
worse. You could be a Giants fan, Ryan.
True.
And it was still better than CM Punk's promo 1 year ago as well, by the way, because that was Punk's first Raw promo back.
Oh, yeah. So cheesy. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it was a Monday night game, too. All right, boys and girls, this has been a lot of fun, but I'm going to mix this podcast and I'm going to get to bed. So appreciate your support. Support us on Patreon to really show the love. Subscribe to the channel while you're here. Thumbs up the video. Appreciate it. You can look us up on Facebook, Top Rope Nation Pro Wrestling Discussion. Get over there. Great group of people posting about wrestling every day. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram as well, TikTok, YouTube shorts going up, all kinds of content from Top Rope Nation. So throw us your support. Appreciate that. And we will catch you all next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Tower, this is Ghost Rider.
Say it again. I cut you off.
Tower,
Go.
this is Ghost Rider requesting a flyby.